Let's talk about metamorphic rocks. Metamorphic rocks are rocks that have been changed. And the key word here is recrystallization. What's recrystallization? Just changing the atomic arrangements. Now, that's not an easy thing to do. In order to change the atomic arrangements, you have to provide a lot of energy into the rock. So the rock is going to be hot, and usually there's some fluid going through water. There's also very, very hot, and it allows the ions to jump from one spot to another and slowly change the minerals. So that's all about recrystallization. And if recrystallization hasn't occurred, you haven't done metamorphism. So metamorphic rock is all about recrystallization. So the question is, well, what were the rocks before? So the first major rock that we have to talk about is going to be shale. Now, why? Well, when a mountain breaks down, a whole big mountain, will turn basically into two things. It will turn into sand, which is generally quartz. Quartz doesn't break down. It doesn't chemically alter on the Earth's surface. So it stays quartz. It's also very, very hard, and it doesn't usually get broken down into the tiniest of all possible chunks, so it stays about the size of sand. Thus, quartz is going to be important. That's what mountains turn into. But most of the rock, you'll realize, is not quartz. It's a bunch of other minerals. Well, this is pretty easy. Basically, all those other minerals turn into clay. Well, once you bury clay, you have shale. So whatever happens to shale in terms of metamorphism is going to be crazy important. And when you take some shale and you expose it to a great amount of heat and pressure, the very first recrystallization event that happens turns the shale into a rock we like very much. Turns a rock that we like very much to use for, I'll get this, I swear. We like to use it for patio stones, and it's slate. Slate. Now, if you take a piece of shale, you could break it apart with your hands. If you take a piece of slate, you could break your hands apart with it. You're not going. Shale is fractal. It comes apart easy. Slate is really durable. That's why we like it for patio stones or various other building materials. This really holds up. We put shale on driveways specifically because your car going over shale, that won't puncture your tire. It'll crush the shale a little bit more. We don't make driveways out of crushed up slate because that'll puncture your tire if you had a sharp piece of it. It doesn't break down so much. After slate, if you take slate and you put that under a lot of pressure, well, you'll make another rock. And the next rock you'll make out of slate is going to be Phylite. Phylite. Now you're getting to a little bit of a shininess to the rock. You take Phylite and you put that under pressure. And Phylite will make schist. Schist is a beautiful greenish, flaky rock. They're getting very flaky now. The flakes are growing quite large. And if you take schist and you put that under heat and pressure, you will make a rock called gneiss. Gneiss has alternating light and dark bands. It's a beautiful rock, and it's very, very durable. But you could tell what a world of change from our piece of shale. And it's all made out of the same stuff. You're just changing the minerals. You're letting the minerals grow larger and larger and larger. Well, what would happen if you took some gneiss and you put that under even more heat and pressure than it took to make the gneiss? It would simply melt. So that's it. In terms of metamorphic rocks, the metamorphism of clay and shale into all these things, this is as far as you go. If you try to heat it and pressurize it more than that, it's going to melt. And then, of course, it'll become an igneous rock. So this is as far as you could go in the metamorphism of that. There's a lot of other rocks out there that we have to talk about what will happen if they get metamorphosed. So what about sandstone? There's a lot of sandstones around. Now that's not shale, that's what the quartz sand will become. Well, sandstone will turn into an amazingly dense, really, really hard rock called quartzite. Okay? What will happen if you metamorphose limestone? Right? The entire ocean bed is made of limestone. If you metamorphose that, what's that going to become? That will become marble. It's what we make statues out of. And when you think about marble is made of limestone, limestone is made of seashells and stuff. So we're making statues out of old sea creatures. Fascinating. Well, there's just a few other things that we would really want you to know. If we took regular coal, you could turn that into something known as anthracite coal. And while regular coal burns a little smoky, not so nice, anthracite coal burns hot and as clean as you're ever going to get coal to burn, which is okay. If you have conglomerate, now remember, of the rock around here, we have shale, we have sandstone, we have conglomerate. So these are important sedimentary rocks. If you have conglomerate, what will that become? Well, that's easy. That's metaconglomerate. Metaconglomerate. It's metamorphosed. And that's all. There's only one other kind of rock, and that is what's going to happen if you have layers of rock and right next to it you were to have a big magma intrusion come through here. Well, all these different layers of rock, well, if this was a layer of limestone, right here you're going to have some marble, right? You'll have a little bit of marble. If this was a layer of sandstone, right here you're going to have some quartzite. Whatever the layers are, they'll change their metamorphic component. Well, we call all of these changed rocks by one simple term. All of these rocks we would call hornfells. Hornfells is a catch-all name meaning any rock that was burned by hot magma under the ground. So you have that change to it. So hornfells can be, you could call something you're calling marble hornfells if and only if it was burned. So hornfells is what you get from contact metamorphism. So contact metamorphism will produce hornfells. Well, what's producing all these other kinds? Well, that's when you have whole areas where plate tectonics, you have areas coming together and crushing, and the whole continent gets heated and pressured. That'll make all these other kinds of rocks. When you have a magmatic intrusion come through, that'll make hornfells. So which would be more common? The stuff where you have whole states, of course, being turned into metamorphic rock, and that would be all regional metamorphism over a whole region. So that's your different kinds of metamorphic rocks that you need to know. Thanks for watching.